Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I know if I don't need, I'm going to use a microphone. I think it helps anybody that's online so they can hear. We are going to talk about the new proposed gym, but I do want to introduce some folks first. My name is Greg Frake, and I'm the superintendent of the high school. Miss Jill Jung is our principal of the high school. Miss Lori Crunk is our assistant principal. In the back, behind the computer, is Mr. Jeff Alt. He's our director of technology and instruction. Mr. Matt Lahr is our athletic director and head boys basketball coach. Miss Brooke Clace is one of our teachers and our head volleyball coach. This is Mrs. Bethany McQuiston. She's another teacher and she's our head girls basketball coach. And then I have Noella Freeburg, who is a senior at Freeburg, and she is our student board member. And then I do have some board members, Mr. Dennis Haas, Mrs. Vicki Staub, Miss Morgan, I call her Miss Michelle, sorry, Mrs. Michelle Morgan, and Mrs. April Nail are here as well. So this is going to be a fairly short presentation. I didn't want to take a lot of your time. I know it's wonderful and beautiful outside. But I do want to talk a little bit about this. We are going to have a chance to ask questions at the end. And then anybody who would like to take a tour of either the secondary gym or the main gym, we're going to have folks set up there for you. So, like I said, a fairly quick presentation. Shouldn't take me, I would think, hopefully we'll be done by 7 o'clock. But these are all the different things we're going to talk about. The first thing, any chance I get, I like to talk about the good things that are happening at Freeburg High School. Those that have kids here or have had kids here recently know it is a very good high school. About 2017, the state of Illinois changed the way they rate high schools. There are 4 categories. Exemplary is the highest category, the highest level. Freeburg High School has earned exemplary status, which means they are in the top 10% statewide of student testing, student performance, and we have none of our subgroups are underperforming. We've actually received this the last 3 out of 4 years, and 2021 was not calculated because of COVID. So my money was on that we would have gotten it to 2021 as well. Freeburg High School is actually the only school in St. Clair County that has gotten this 3 times. And they're only one of 2 schools, and I put the Metro East, but this actually includes Madison County, Clinton County, Washington County, Randolph, that have gotten it 3 times. So we're very proud of that. It is something that our teachers work very hard, our kids study, and this is a really big deal, and we're very proud of it. We have a 96% graduation rate. This is just last year. We typically have a high 90% graduation rate. We do a great job of getting our kids to graduate. This is kind of a snapshot of what happens just about every year for us, and this is my understanding of the graduation and talks about this, and it's always really neat to kind of hear. 38% of our seniors go either to a 2-year college or a trade school. 52% go directly to a 4-year college. The remaining 10% either go into military or the workforce. Last year, our seniors earned over $3 million in scholarships. So obviously, this is a direct reflect on the students and how much they prepare. And this isn't a 1-year deal where they get grades and they get a scholarship. These are 4 years these kids work hard. And our teachers and our counselors work well with these kids to get those things. Financially, the school, we do a very good job. We have an audit done every year. Recognition is the profile that we have earned since 2017. It is the highest recognition you can get. There are, I believe, 5 categories that go into establishing this profile. So this is something that the board and myself are very proud of, that feel like we really take care of the community's money and do a good job with it. The second point on here is called an adequacy rating, or an adequacy percentage. And again, this is something that the state has put together once they got into the evidence-based funding laws, and they established where schools rank compared to what their level is, what they think they should, where they should be. Freeburg High School has a 68%, which means we spend 68% of the money that the state thinks we should spend, or that we get from the state. So we get a certain amount of money from the state. I think it's $8 million, $6 million, whatever it is. The state, I'm sorry, we're about $5 million. The state thinks we should be $8 million. So we're actually getting about almost $3 million less per year than what the state says their target level is. And that kind of corresponds to about $3,000 a kid less than what the state thinks we should be spending. But the previous slide, we're doing a pretty good job at the rate and the money that the state's given us. Kind of a little breakdown of the construction history. Those that have been around a while had a tornado that hit the building in 1968, damaged the building to a point that they had to tear it down. When that happened, there was two portions of the building left. The kind of orange, it says the oldest section of the building. I believe that was built about the same time as the gym. And then that yellow section, kind of faded yellow, that was built in the 70s after the tornado. Since then, there has been a series of additions to the building. So as needs arose, the building just kept growing. And in the recent years, especially since 2011, we added on a renovation of the office in that new west hallway, and then redid all of our athletic facilities, our FCHS field, baseball and softball fields. 2019, we converted the old bus garage, which was nothing but storage, into an ag building. So that has 2 classrooms and a 3-bay garage. And then we put on the second floor addition in 2021. And that added 12 classrooms to the building. Since 2016, we've done quite a few small improvements, some medium and some large. Again, we talked about a couple, the ag building, put in parking lots, renovated the HVAC, replaced the HVAC in the gym, installed new windows. 2 big renovations are the 12 classroom second floor addition, and then the project that we're actually getting ready to work on next week, which will be on the next slide. Of those renovations from 2016-2023, they cost the district about $13 million. In that time, our tax rate has actually decreased. From 2016 till what's going to come up this year, our tax rate has actually gone down. Now, as soon as I say that, there's usually people that go, well, wait a minute, my taxes are going up. But school districts are only able to affect the tax rate. The state's in charge of the multiplier, and the county's in charge of your assessment. So we do what we can. The board, especially on those first projects, did not want to increase the tax rate, did not want to go out to the public and ask them to increase the tax rate. So we were able to find ways to do this, refinancing bonds and things like that, to keep our tax rate in check. This is the upcoming project. Actually, it's going to start on Monday. There's 4 parts to the school, 4 main parts. C10, which is green, that's our family consumer science. That is our last flooring in the gym that has asbestos. So in order to abate the tile, they have to take out cabinets. Those cabinets were put in 1970 or so when that addition was put in. So while we are taking those cabinets out, it's a good time to renovate that room. There'll be 5 kitchens in that room, all up to date. There'll be an ADA kitchen, and there will also be extra storage. So that's going to be a big improvement. The orange, and we're looking at just the top 2 sets of classrooms that are going to be renovated. They were science classrooms, and again, that whole orange section, we abated that tile last spring. So that was part of this abatement process that was in that previous slide on where we spent that money. That, where it says C6, C5, and C7 is going to become a student services area. We're going to bring together our social workers, our counselors, and our student services director so they can all work with the kids and work together closely as a team. Right now, they're kind of spread out throughout the school. The blue is the old courtyard. Again, if you went to school here, probably way before I got here, that they said they used to eat lunch out there. So there were picnic tables and they would eat lunch out there. Well, right now all it does is grow grass and not much else. So what we're going to do is we're going to excavate all the dirt. The little square up there is an old coal bin that's been condemned. That's coming out. That's going to be our new band room. And so that room, actually, once we get it complete, will be about 30% bigger than the current band room. In addition to that, there's going to be a second floor storage. So it'll be above some storage area, a storage room that's in that band room. Also above where it says boiler room of almost 2,000 square feet that they can go up there and store excess band equipment. They can store band uniforms. And this is instead of getting on a ladder and climbing up and shimmying through the little storage we have right now. And then the pink area is the big part of the renovation. This is the industrial arts. Since we're moving the band, the industrial arts is basically going to take over that whole area. So we're going to expand the space that each of the shops and those teachers have. It's a big area. It's an industry that's just dying to have people prepared to come directly into the workforce. Our guys do a great job, so we're going to give them more space to really hopefully emphasize that. Another part of that, which I'm really excited about, is currently, if you look at where the ramp is, and then go up to where it says secondary gym, right now the only way to get to the north end is to walk through the secondary gym. So we are going to put a hallway kind of along the top of that pink area and up towards where it says the bathroom, so that access to the north end classrooms will all be through that hallway. So the band room, the secondary gym will no longer be a hallway. I know our girls' PE teachers are pretty happy about that. So the bond issue. In January, the board placed a $10 million bond issue on the April 4th ballot. This was specifically to build a new gym and other school improvements is typically how it's written. The bond issue would increase property taxes by approximately 77 cents for every $100,000 assessed home value. But that's based on a $77. I say cents. $77 for every $100,000 of your home assessed value. Now this is based on a 0% EAV. And we do that because we want to be conservative. Our EAV has typically grown about 4% over the last 5 or 6 years. Of course, as the EAV grows, that's going to lower the tax rate, which would actually lower the cost to taxpayers. In fact, I'm going to write an article in a couple of weeks. Our EAV jumped quite a bit that we just found out about, which will lower our tax rate by about 4.5 cents for this coming year. So that was a really nice piece of news that we got from the county. Why do we need this? Well, a lot of reasons. Our current gym is 72 years old, built in 1951. It replaced the old gym that was part of the old school, and that gym was built in 1927. So the first gym we had, they replaced it after 24 years, but this gym's 72 years old. Back in 1951, everything was different. Freeburg was pretty small. We only had 9 teachers. We've got 46 today. Only had 143 students, 26 seniors. Today we have about 641 students and about 162 seniors. The big factor is what all was that gym used for. And that gym was basically built to house boys' basketball games. Back in 51, they had 2 competitive sports, boys basketball and baseball. There were no competitive girls' sports. Today we have 21 competitive varsity sports, and that includes our addition of wrestling for next year, which will be both boys and girls varsity sport. And something I'm very proud of, Freeburg's won 11 state championships, and that is, without a doubt, something that we really kind of hang our hat on. And why do I bring these things up? The point is that we are still using the same facilities that they built in 1951 for the size of the school and the number of students we have. And so we've simply outgrown our facilities. So here are some specific things. The two pictures on the left-hand side shows the stairs. We do not have any seats that anybody that's handicapped can get to. So they have to climb a set of stairs, and that doesn't matter if they're in a wheelchair, a scooter, crutches. So it's very difficult. The middle picture, and we'll talk about this in a second when we go to another slide. If you go to our home side, there's only two doorways that you can get to our home bleachers. So if we had a capacity, we're going to talk about in a second, about 700 on our home side, that means 700 people have to go through that door to get in. And if they need to get out, then you've got those two doors. We do have doors on the other side to exit, but not to enter. And then recently, especially at our girls' volleyball and basketball games, we've had 3 different families that brought somebody in a wheelchair or a scooter. And the only place we could keep them was that corner by our home stands. And I measured it today. It's less than 6 feet from the wheelchair to the playing floor. And that scares me to death, to have some kind of collision between one of our, or anybody else's player, and one of our fans that is already in a wheelchair. Couple big pictures, wanted to blow them up. The picture on the left, at first glance, it looks nice. But we've done a lot of cosmetic things to that gym to really make it so we can use it. It's been repainted recently. The gym floor was replaced about 10 or 11 years ago. We did add some windows, but it's really just a lot of lipstick that we put in there. The issue on the left that we have, if you notice, both of the home bleachers and the visitor bleachers both sit up on permanent concrete. So there's no way to move those bleachers back to expand that floor for either PE or practices. Picture on the right, and again, this is another thing that unfortunately I've witnessed, is 6 foot from that wall to the basketball court. I've seen kids that have slid into that and run into the concrete wall. We had a kid a couple years ago ran into the steel rails that are up there to keep people up. It's a dangerous situation. And so there are certain things that, we struggle. This is a really good picture of our ceiling or our roof, the structure. Unfortunately, it's too low for us to host IHSA volleyball regionals and sectionals. We have to go on the road for any playoff game. And it's really a sad disadvantage that our volleyball team, which has had so much success over the years, they have to go through. Our locker rooms. That's a picture of the varsity boys locker room. Those are the largest lockers that we have. That picture on top of the lockers is baseball equipment. And that equipment is either up there. Kids could just be lazy, they didn't want to put their stuff in the locker. But typically it's because we don't have enough lockers to put those things in. And they can't put them in the what we call the PE locker room because those are small lockers. Having a son that played baseball, I would hate to imagine how much money is invested in those bags. We're probably talking $3,000 to $5,000. And unfortunately, we don't have the space to put those in. Now, some of our students, and these are basketball, they just take their bags, they put them in the teacher's classroom. Or, this is Coach B's classroom, she'll have them all lined up on the outside. The kids will just come and set them there. The problem is, if you see the board, our kids can't get to the board because the bags are in the way. And it's just, unfortunately, there just isn't the space to put these. And we have looked at a lot of different solutions, and there isn't a very good solution to fix the issues that we have. This is our weight room. And anybody that's had kids in sports lately, weights are a huge part of that. And we do really push it. The one on the left is the actual weight room. And again, at first glance, real clean. The racks look nice. And those racks are directly a result of the MABC providing those for the school. So they've gone and they've purchased these racks, cleaned it up. But unfortunately, that only allows us probably to have about 18 kids in there. And our PE classes are probably close to 25. Our bigger sports, football, boys and girls basketball, those numbers are so big they can't all use the weight room at the same time. On the right is the old Hall of Fame. Again, if you're old and remember, or older and remember, that's where you used to come into the gym. That's now become either storage for the different equipment that we use. And you can see the dots on the floor, they use that for plyometrics. And then on the bottom, again, these are just things that we store in the corner that we don't have a space to bring those out and use those with the class. Secondary gym. I probably should have started off with the secondary gym, because the secondary gym is probably more of an issue as far as space than our main gym. The gym floor is very small. It's almost impossible to run a good quality high school practice for boys, girls, or volleyball. The ceiling height in here is even lower than the one in the main gym. For girls PE, it's hard for the teachers to get enough space on the floor for girls to participate in the activity all at one time. Typically what they do is they participate in whatever it is on the floor, and then the rest just kind of walk the perimeter. And the other issue we have is storage. If you can see, there are just any number of things, mostly PE, but a few things from the school, that there's no other place to put them. So they unfortunately get stuck in the secondary gym. So what's our timeline for this? We're looking at probably about 6 to 9 months for planning and another 6 to 9 months for construction. So if approved, this facility could be ready sometime in the 2024-2025 school year. So what are we proposing? And this is our wish list. The new competition gym. This would be a gym that would host most of our competitions. It would host both boys and girls PE classes. It would host all sorts of practices for sports teams. The main gym will still be used. The main gym will be used for PE classes. It will be used for underclass tournaments. It's still a very viable gym, and so we'll continue to use it. The new gym would have entrances and restrooms that are ADA accessible. It would include boys and girls locker rooms with that main facility. Our girls locker room is in the secondary gym. They just don't use it. It's too far to go for competitions of basketball and volleyball to walk all the way down to that gym, store their things, and come back. Plus those lockers are small, and it's hard to get their equipment in. A new weight room, an auxiliary gym, which would be pretty much a stripped down gymnasium. It would just have a gym floor in it, limited seating, but it would be able to host practices. It would be also able to hold competitions if we needed it. And then, if it works out, classrooms for driver's ed, health, and senior seminar. And the reason for those three is our PE teachers typically teach those classes. So it makes it easier to have them in there. If the bond issue passes, the board, we're going to have to sit down and go through and prioritize and put things on a list and make sure that we get the things that are most important right away. But have it designed so, if we can't get one of these, it's planned for in the future. So the location, and this is proposed. Again, the only thing the board's done is approved a $10 million bond issue to go on the ballot. So the board hasn't sat down and approved any of these specifics, but the gym we're looking at probably going in that grassy area that's just to the west of the high school. We would have it connected to that hallway that was built in 2011. We would make sure that this is not going to impact specifically the discus that sits out there and goes towards that. And there will also be enough room for, we can still hold underclass football practice, which they use that space, and things like that. The new gym, again, the one thing that everybody likes about our gym is the atmosphere that's created because of how close everything is. And so that's something that we want to do. We don't want to, we talked a lot about it, not really in favor of having one of these monstrosities of a gym and then lose that coziness. So we're looking at keeping the same number of seats on the home and visitor side. On the home side, which in this picture is on the left, those would be those premium seats that people could reserve and things like that. That has the back, makes it more comfortable to watch. The big difference, what we would look at, is adding about 200 seats on either side or either end zone for our students and our band. We've got a fantastic student section. All of our opponents hate it. We love it. But they stand the whole time. They block people who are trying to watch games. So if we can give them a designated spot that's not in other people's way, would be great. The other thing is, our band does a fantastic job of supporting and doing the pep band. And unfortunately, where they sit, they kind of sit up in the back. So it's hard to really see them. You almost kind of have to take a look. So if we bring them down to a lot more prominent spot, I think it'll highlight the band kids, and it'll just create a really nice atmosphere. All of these bleachers would be retractable. So if you look at the dotted lines, those are full-size basketball courts. So in this case, there would be 2 full-size basketball courts. And then if you kind of imagine, those bleachers will go back to about 2 bleachers or 2 rows thick. So there'll be plenty of room on the outside of those to move about as well. Didn't want to show that. The other thing that our main gym doesn't have are these, I'm calling them vertical, but they actually run left and right, are the rows that go up the bleachers. We have none. So to move up and down our bleachers, you either have to step across our bleachers, or go down to an end, go up, and go back down to the end. So these would be typical bleachers, quite a bit like our visitors are now, but it would make it a lot easier for people to move down the floor and go up. It would also have seating that's built into the bleachers for ADA, so folks can come in that are in scooters or wheelchairs, and they can, those first rows will actually kind of go back, and you can have them sit there and be safe distance away from the floor that unfortunately they're not now. So this is a rendering, and I should say proposed rendering. So obviously this was just something that the architect put together. We did not want the architect to go through detailed plans and spend a lot of money for possibly not being able to move forward this if we're not successful next week. So a couple things I want to point out. It would be attached next to the school. So this is the front of the school on the left-hand side. The gym would be attached to that. The entrance would be on the front. We would set it up or design it so there would be no stairs or no steps going from the parking lot into the building to their seats. So it's going to make it a lot easier. Plus it'll help out if we're moving anything, pushing around big carts of chairs or things like that. So kind of my final thoughts, and then I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. Feel like I've written a bunch of articles. The articles are on our website if anybody wants to read through those. Have given as many facts as I can give you. Really, all that's left to do is to vote. The election is next Tuesday. I'm pleading with people, please take the time to vote. I'm a firm believer that voting is it's not a right, it's a responsibility. And I think everybody, you should vote. It doesn't matter, I harp on my kids about it, but that is something very important. So please get out and vote. And this is something I wrote, there'll be an article that comes out tomorrow. This is a big decision. And it will not just affect the kids today, or the kids that are in the grade school. I mean, this is going to affect the kids for decades, and who knows, maybe 72 years. And then, whoever is going to be around 72 years, maybe there's somebody else standing up here trying to pitch a new gym. So this is a very important decision. I do have Noella, our student board member, said she would like to offer a few thoughts. So you can do whatever you like. I'm going to give you the mic, though.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Okay, so obviously we heard from Mr. Franking and hearing from the parents aspect. So I just wanted to share from a student side of things, because obviously we don't deal with a lot of the things he mentioned, but we see a different perspective. The biggest issue that I have faced, my friends have faced, and it's just constantly going on, is our limited practice spaces. So I have friends that will have practice at 5:30 in the morning because that's the only time they can get in the gym, and they'll still have practice at 9 o'clock at night because, again, that's the only time they can get in the gym. So students are expected to be up so early in the morning, up so late at night, with still work, family that they want to hang out with, friends that they have, school activities, homework, everything that they need. So that is just impossible for students to be able to do all of this along with these off times for practices. Another thing that I am very passionate about is that the cheer and dance teams never have gotten to use the gym space because again there's no space for all of this with practices already being from so early in the morning to late at night. Cheer has to fit their way in as well. So frequently they're practicing in here in the hallways and that is not accurate space for them to practice. So for competitions they aren't even able to go because they have not had time to practice adequately on the gym floor. And then also, I had talked to some student athletes, girls in specific, and they said that what they struggle with a lot is the locker room issue. A lot of the volleyball girls actually mentioned that they change underneath the bleachers during volleyball season because it's the closest spot for them, and the bathrooms are taken up by other girl athletes trying to change for track and cross country, and so they change underneath the bleachers because they can't utilize the locker rooms that they currently have because they're being used for storage for other teams, for the away teams, and there's just not space for everybody anymore. Yeah.
Thanks, Noelle. She's going to recruit for us for the next year's board member, right? She does a wonderful job. So I've tried to, again, through the articles and through the presentation, try to give you as many facts as I can. I don't want things to get diluted like they may do on social media. I've tried to be as transparent as possible. So now, again, it's kind of up to the community. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy. If I can't answer them, I've got some experts to my left that would be more than happy to answer them. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. When you had your list of hopes and sort of prioritize everything, it said on there auxiliary gym will eliminate the secondary gym or something did you talk about where that would be or what that is?
So once we sit down and go through this, and if we're able to build all of these things, the whole thing would go to the, we're not sure what the actual configuration is ahead of here someplace. We know the gym's going to be, the main gym's going to be up front, the locker rooms will be right next to it, and offices and restrooms and things like that. And then we're going to have to kind of figure out where the rest is going to go. Again, we didn't want to spend a whole lot of time and money with the architects to go through and say, hey, this is going to go right here, this one's going to go here, and no, we should move the locker room here, because all that stuff's going to happen depending on what happens on Tuesday. But the whole complex is just going to be to the west of the school. And I'm not sure if that's what you had, your question. So somewhere in there, all of this is going to fit. And I've probably drawn that a lot bigger than it needs to be drawn, because that's all the way to the south end is where that's at. Pretty close. Okay. So, and that gym, again, it would be, if you go to some of the other schools, they just basically have this, it's just a gym. And for the most part, it's for practice. Like Noella said, it's going to provide extra practice space. But this gym, if it's just this gym, that's 2 extra courts that we don't have now. So instead of having 2 single courts that really aren't able to expand, we're going to double our number of courts that we have. Because typically in those big gyms, when you have the double courts, you put a tarp or something comes down and it can divide it. So you could actually hold separate practices. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is going to happen with the really old gym like this?
Well, for right now, we'll continue to use it for something. I mean, it's not going to sit still. We did put a new curtain in there for drama. Depending on what happens with this, I mean, down the road, that could be turned into performing arts. You could bring in stadium type bleachers, improve the acoustics. So it could be down the road something done like that. But right now, I mean, it's a very usable space in our building, so we will use it, whether it's for one particular sport, or maybe that's where the sports that don't get a lot of time and court time, they can use that. So it'll be used. Yes, sir.
And with this secondary gym,
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe, I think you explained more why you really need it, but I think that was the big sticking point with a lot of people. We got 2 gyms now, and all of a sudden, built the big gym, which, yes, we need that. But another 4th gym, I think, as good as you were with your explanation of everything else, there's not too much on the need of this 4th gym.
Right. No, I understand that. And again, this is just a wish list that we put up. There's going to be lots of discussions on the board level and probably input from the community on, what exactly. That's why I said it's going to take probably 6 to 9 months to do the planning for it. Because this is very preliminary. This is, that 10, we'll be able to spend that 10 million. So if there's extra, then we look at those other extra things. But if we had that other gym, that would eliminate the need to use the secondary gym for sports and things like that. So that opens it up a lot quicker for like a performing arts. And they can have the plays. And, we can look to see what we need to do to get the band to be able to maybe do performances, or public can come in and have meetings and things like that. Instead of going and building another probably $10 or plus million performing arts, like they have it in Scuda, and you know what I mean. So we're trying to figure out how to best spend our money, and get the things that we need. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, I just wish more of this had been brought out, along with the need for the new gym itself.
Okay.
Because that's, like you say, down the road, you try, it's going to cost most likely double what it does now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned a lot here. I just wish more people would show up.
Sure, and I think we have people online. I'm hoping that it's online. This will also be recorded, so anybody can come back and look at it later. Hopefully they look at it before Tuesday and not wait till Wednesday to look at it. But it's available, just like all of our board meetings and other things that we do. It's all on our web page and our YouTube page. So it'll be available for people to go and watch. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Where did the $10 million figure come from? Is that the architect, or is that did somebody just say, maybe
It is based on the architect's estimate per square foot. So in one of the articles I'd written that when we looked at this in 2017, the square footage price was between $200 and $250 for construction. Now, and we're seeing this in these others, that the prices just jumped up, and of course if you guys shop now anywhere, it's just crazy the price. So we're looking at square footage. So we went around and looked at different gyms. Google Earth is a great thing, or Google Maps, and you go around and you say, well, how many square feet is this gym? And is that a gym that we think? So we looked at, internally, a bunch of different gyms and actually visited several different gyms. And that's when we kind of said, you know what, the Oakavilles and the Westcombs are great, but it's not what we need. We need a gym, number one, that can meet our needs with our kids, PE and things like that, but we also don't want to lose that atmosphere that we have. So it was based on square footage of the gyms and the other facilities they had that they found. And so you take that square footage, multiply by 400, and who knows what it's going to be next fall or whatever. But that's how we came up with that number. Yeah. Anybody else? These are all great questions. Well, I appreciate you guys coming tonight and taking the time. We will have a couple people, some will be in the main gym. We'll have somebody or a couple people in the secondary gym. And if you don't know how to get there, we'll help you find it. If you would like to walk through, take a look at the locker rooms, look at the weight room, look at the the space that we have in the gym, go to the secondary gym. look at how we use that gym, what things are in there that we really need someplace to put them. So you're free to do that. If you have any questions that you didn't want to ask in front of the group, feel free to come up and talk to me or anybody up here. But I appreciate all you guys coming up, and I'm hoping you go out and vote on Tuesday. Thank you very much.
I will be heading to the secondary gym, so if anybody wants to go to the secondary